Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of the Let's Play of Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Last time we left off we were in the archives, so let's go back there. The archives are actually thought of being a pretty creepy level, not because there are monsters, but because of the thought of them. This, in my opinion, was one of the creepier levels when I first started the game. It was actually somewhat difficult to progress through. Drawers usually have a lot of stuff in them, so it's a good idea to check them.
16th of May, 1839. The unflinching African sun has continued to plague our expedition, making it impossible to dig until dusk. How Professor Herbert managed to find the location in these vast plains of nothingness remains a mystery to me. When I asked him about the tomb again, he told me about the legend of Tin Hanan, the mother of us all. An interesting story in its own right, but I can't help feeling there's more. Later that evening, we uncovered a passage beneath the dunes leading to a sand-covered stone structure. The professor was confident it was the tomb we sought and ordered the others to clear the way late into the dark, cold night. Tomorrow, I shall lead the men into the ancient structure, hoping to reach the burial chamber. No matter what the professor is keeping from me, the dig should yield something interesting to take back to London and the British Museum.
So, as I said before, the archives were originally part of a much bigger level, along with the old archives and the cellar archives. But it was originally much bigger, and there was a large spider room where you had to get to the end where you'd find the hollow needle, something very important that you find later in the game. But they decided to move that to the basement archives. Split up the level to make it more interesting. Just go through here. Nope, cinderbox. I hate when they do that. Looks like a no, but you can't pick it up. That was the sound of a brute. It's a more serious monster you encounter later in the game. It's the more dangerous but less frequent version of the servant grunt. You can actually see a hallucination of a servant grunt in this level, and I'll show you later.
17th of May, 1839. My hands tremble as I write. I feel a need to document my tribulation, for I fear that my memory will fail me if I linger. Today, I took some men and ventured into the dark, ancient passage we uncovered. Our torches burned faintly in the murky air as we slowly made our way underground. The men were superstitious and fearful. They argued loudly, and I felt their strange language getting to me. I mustered my strength and yelled at them to continue down the slopes and broken steps. The crudely carved passage confused me. It looked much older than the 4th century structure we had expected. The twisting path emerged into a great antechamber. The walls were lined with statues unlike any I'd ever seen. Despite their unearthly quality, I felt a strange familiarity toward them, which haunts me still. At the far end of the chamber, a great slab of stone sealed off whatever lay ahead. I gave the order to raise it, and as I pushed through the narrow space, the heavy stone suddenly dropped, sealing me inside. I was trapped.
So basically, this is the story. This first set of notes you get in here, maybe the only one. It's the story of Daniel's trip in Algeria. He was excavating a tomb. It's nice piano music. Oil. Your oil drains very quickly, so it's always good to have a few extra bottles on hand. Don't waste it. Any room where there's light or any room where you're going to be in for a while, make sure you turn off your lantern and light a candle. Yeah, the sound of the monsters you hear there are an example of why this is thought to be one of the more creepy rooms in the game. Just talked about wasting my lantern and I'm wasting it already. That is also the sound of a brute. The last one was the sound of a servant grunt. More oil. Just a little thing, you'll notice these pianos aren't real pianos because of the keys. Just any other music lovers. Nope. Tinderbox. During flashbacks, which are those things where the screen goes white and then you hear text, you can actually not lose sanity during, so whenever you enter a flashback, turn off your lantern.
Much of the castle is old and hasn't been tended to for centuries. When the shadow arrives, it won't take long until things start falling apart.
We're just buying time anyway. Let's do what we can.
There isn't much to be done about the walls. We should reinforce weak structures. The ground will tremble and there's a risk everything will cave in on us, especially downstairs. Here, and there. Let's get the servants working on it.
That was actually kind of cool how it caved in right when he said cave in. I should turn on my lantern now. Anyway, this note triggers a flashback.
May 1839. After pounding the unforgiving stone wall for what seemed like an eternity, I realized it was hopeless. I was trapped. I fell to the ground, gasping for air, trying to focus. That's when I saw a faint blue shimmer. My weakened body was heavy to carry, but I managed to push myself toward the enchanting light.
So there are actually a few things that trigger flashbacks like this. There aren't a lot in the game, but you do see more than just this.
It was waiting for me. Enclosed in dark nothingness, I felt myself drawn to the mystic light.
It's also a very important part of the game. This also is part of the main storyline. This is the orb.
I reached out, closing it in my hands. The faint glow escaped my fingers and began to spark brightly and spirit me away, unlocking alien memories of spiraling towers, endless deserts, and impossible geometry. The next thing I can remember is the grating sound of stone being lifted, the voices of the Arabs pulling me to safety, and grasped firmly in my hands was the broken pieces of a most peculiar relic.
So then we come out of the thing, the flashback. So that's the orb. That's how he got it. So the orb is actually thought to be why the things you collect are faint blue, have a faint blue shimmer around them. Because the orb shows them where they are.
You have to be swift when you activate the first one. You hear that? If it stops, you'll have to start over.
Isn't all this a bit excessive?
You can never be too careful, Daniel.
Anyway, this is what I said about the notes and what I'll be doing. So you can pause on any of those if you want to read them. That was the sound of a servant grunt again. I'm going to light this candle since I'm in here for a little. Actually, I have to pull all these at the same time. The door behind me is locked, but pulling these unlocks that. Oil. Secret room back here. Closet. So, the key on the table here triggers that door opening. No, one second. Again, you can pause if you want to read that. Pick up this key. Makes the sound of a grunt over here. You can actually see a hallucination of the grunt if you run out here. That's what the servant grunt looks like. If you hear things outside, that's because nobody is ever quiet in my dorm. You'll hear the music in the background. That is the danger music for the grunt. Each monster has 3 sets of music. There is danger, search, and attack. Right now we'll hear the attack. So you'll notice these disappeared as soon as they got close. That's because they were hallucinations. They cannot actually hurt you, but they still trigger the normal music and that terror meter you heard, which means that they can see you. I'm really sorry about the people outside my room if you can hear them. Do we go in here? Out of oil. So yeah, that's the archives. We got the key to the wine cellar, which is very important for progressing later in the game. So now we are going to go back to the Great Hall. That was again the sound of a brute and a servant grunt. And let's go back to the entrance hall. A handful of sand trickled from the crumbling stone ceiling and pushed down on the brim of his hat. He braced himself as the cavern suddenly shifted and settled. Alright. As I said before, this is the shadow, and it's red flesh, goo stuff. But anyway, we're going to end it there. Like and favorite if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.